Hi, this is Matthew-Barby, and I'm going to show you how to use the URL Profiler tool. The URL Profiler tool is a nice bit of software that you may have seen in a recent post that I did. And this was all focused around analyzing the content on your site, also being able to analyze content from other websites. You can then use to find trends, whether it's based on links, based on social shares, just looking at the specific factors of the content, your Google Analytics stats, or a whole host of different things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through actually setting up the URL Profiler tool so that you can actually have everything running in the way that you want it to. And then I'll go on to showing you the kind of setup that I have within mine. So once you've installed URL Profiler, the first thing that you need to go into is the Settings tab. So what you'll have here is the connections, and really you're going to have to probably play around with this, and it all depends on the processing power of your PC. If you've got a really high-end machine, then you may want to kind of look at kind of a connections of 30 upwards, but I probably wouldn't go much further than that. If you're running this on kind of a more basic system, I'd probably bring that down to 10. Essentially, the more connections that you can run at the same time, the quicker the tool will run. But you've then got the trade-off of whether that's just going to crash your PC or your Mac. So I'd probably start by testing it out with just say something like 5 or 10 connections, and then scale it up if it works okay. Generally, if you're working on a smaller set of URLs, you should be okay with higher connections. When you're working on big data sets, that's when you're probably going to start seeing issues come in. The connection timeout, you can just leave this at 10 seconds. Wouldn't worry too much about that. Link analysis, again, I would leave these at the default settings of 0. This will just speed everything up a lot more. Don't need to go into the details too much here. Link metrics, this is actually a really nice new feature of the tool, of the recent update that's been released. Before, what was being gathered is loads and loads of URL data, like every single kind of URL data that you could possibly get from Majestic, from Moz, and from Ahrefs. What you now have the opportunity to do is bring this down to a basic level. So depending on the type of analysis you want to do, you can still have all the available link metrics. If you're just looking at this for some kind of backlink analysis, the basic settings will be more than enough. Likewise with Moz and also Ahrefs. Then going into the social, again, you can choose which social media platforms you want to gather stats for. So, I mean, Delicious I don't care at all about, so I just leave that out. In some circumstances, I won't care about StumbleUpon, Reddit, even in some Pinterest. For some specific pieces of content, I may even only look at the likes of Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn and Google+. So what I would say is tailor this to the specific analysis that you're doing, and you can kind of just make sure that you're not gathering stats on things when you don't need them, because it really does affect the actual processing time of URL Profiler. uClassify, this is if you want to gather kind of some extra information around each URL. So if you want to kind of have a little look at kind of uClassify's stats around the topics, tonality, language, sentiment, mood, age. This is all the kind of the analysis that uClassify offers into content. Personally, for most of the projects that I do within URL Profiler, I don't use many of these features, but they are really good to have. So if you are doing some specific kind of profiling around the tone of content that's working, and more specifics into the types of language used, the sentiment involved within each of your articles, this can be a really invaluable piece of information that you can gather. So the final one is proxies. If you do use any private proxies, then you can load those in. I mean, I've only loaded in, I think, about 10 private proxies here. And what I would just do is just select it for when you're doing a Google index check. You don't really need to do it on social shares. If some websites you're scraping through a load of URLs and a load of content off of them, you may find that they will block off your IP. So in some circumstances, you can use the kind of your proxies on the URL scraping. You don't need to have proxies. I think ideally, if you were going to use proxies, you probably want a bit more than 10. I just loaded up a few for test purposes, really. But yeah, another great feature just to stop any problems coming up when you're scraping through all the information. So I'll close this down. The next thing you want to look at is the accounts. So one thing to note with URL Profiler is it gathers all of these stats from a whole host of different data sources: Majestic SEO, Mozscape, Ahrefs, uClassify, Share Count API, Google from analytics, and also from scraping the SERPs, Copyscape, My-Addr. So all of these information, this isn't kind of bundled in to URL Profiler. You have to have access to these tools to be able to use them. Now, you don't need to have access to Majestic SEO, Moz, and Ahrefs to be able to get link data. You could have access just to Moz or just Ahrefs, and you'll still be able to kind of get information. Now, I just have a basic Majestic SEO. I think it's the silver account, which is about £35 a month. That's just off the top of my head. I have a Moz Pro account, but I don't have a Pro account on Ahrefs, so I don't use that. So all you need to do is go through. If you've got Majestic SEO, then you just press Get Access Token, and it will bring out the pop-up window. Will take you through to Majestic SEO, where you'll be able to grab your access token, paste it in there, and then you can link up directly to the API. It's really as simple as that, and there's loads of documentation on the website just in case you are having a bit of trouble, or you can get in touch with me directly and I can kind of point you in the right direction. But it's the exact same with Moz. So when you go through, you can have a free Moz account and actually have the basic metrics. All you need to do is sign up for a free account on Moz, or if you've got a pro account, you get slightly more metrics. But you can go in, and same as Majestic, you can create, well, you've got your own access ID, you just need to create a secret key and then move on from there. So really simple to do again. And likewise with Ahrefs, same process, just press Get Access Token. So if you go through here, it'll open up Ahrefs and you can go in and do stuff directly there. So the next one is Google. So you'll want to do this, again, free to do with the Google API key. Go through, just click Get API key, and you'll come through to the developers console within Google, and you can follow through all of the details, which are all on the URL Profiler website, to be able to set up a free API key. It really takes no time at all. I'm not going to run through all of that because literally you just click here and you've got all the access, all the details step by step onto how to create your API keys. So I'm not going to waste time going through all of that. My-Addr, again, this is another thing where you can gather information on PageRank, Alexa, and Whois data. You just sign up, you can add a few credits, that's what I did, and then you can just add your login details there. Copyscape I haven't used here, but if you do have Copyscape information or a Copyscape account, add that in, you can get even more data. And the same with uClassify. As I mentioned, I didn't really use uClassify, but if you do, again, add the information in here and you can select which information you want to gather. So once you've got everything set up, that's all you need to do, and you won't need to do that every time. That's just a one-off thing. You're all ready to go. The next thing you're going to want to do is sort out adding some URLs to gather information around. Don't worry about this dashboard area, we'll go through that in a second. But one of the great things about URL Profiler is if you come over into the pane over here where you've got URL, you can right click. You can either paste a load of URLs from the clipboard, so if you've had a load of URLs, maybe in a TXT file or something like that, and you just want to paste a few in, or you've just grabbed a few and you want to plug it straight into the pane here without having to create a file. Straight away, you can just paste that in from the clipboard. So if I was to just go findmyblogway.com, copy that, paste from clipboard, simple. I'm just going to remove that, delete all URLs. Alternatively, import from file. So you can go through here. I can import a list of URLs from a CSV or a TXT file. But one thing I really like is import from an XML sitemap. So you may have noticed here, I've got the sitemap open on Find My Blog Way that just has my articles within it. So I'm not just plugging in the domain, and you're going to have like all of the like pagination pages. You'll have like the home page, obviously, but on top of that, you'll have like random kind of about pages, contact pages, all the information that actually I don't care about finding information on. I can just plug that straight in, press import. And what URL Profiler will do is pull in all the URLs from that sitemap. So really, really handy actually. And then they're all plugged in, ready to go. So however you want to do that, I mean, this is just 88 URLs. I've actually ran 80,000 URLs through URL Profiler. It took a fair amount of time. However, it did complete and gave me a huge insight. I'll actually be doing a case study on that in the next few weeks, so make sure you check back onto the blog for that. But now you've got all your URLs in there, you want to start having a look at what information you're gathering. So if you're just doing it from one single domain, so you've just got here just a list, for example, if I'm just looking at Find My Blog Way, doing a content analysis of my own, what I would say is don't worry about gathering all the domain level stats, because what it will do is it will gather domain level statistics for every single one of these URLs, but it'll only be gathering information on the domain. So you'll get link data based on the Find My Blog Way domain 88 times, and it's just a waste of time gathering all that information. What you may as well do is 2 separate runs and just put the home page in there and then just do 1 run on the domain level, because it'll be exactly the same every single time. On the URL data, so what you'll want to do here, and it's also worth noting actually, if you do have multiple different domains, maybe you're gathering information around a prospect list that's like loads of different domains, that's when it's probably a bit more relevant to do this domain level data analysis. On the URL level, this is where you get the real gold in terms of analysis. So what I run, because I have Majestic SEO and Moz, I don't have Ahrefs, I will gather Majestic SEO data and Moz data. What I'll get there is with the basic data, you will get, if we go into settings, if we go into the link metrics, you'll get citation flow, trust flow, external links, and referring domains. If you went all available link metrics, which I'll show you in an example in a moment, you'll have like referring.gov domains, referring.edu domains, all the kind of metrics that you'd look at. And the same with Moz, domain authority, page authority, Moz rank, Moz trust, external links. You'll then also have a whole host of different things, so linking C blocks, linking IP addresses, all sorts of stuff, similarly with Ahrefs. So you'll get all of that data for every single one of these URLs. Social shares. What I did within this analysis, when I was doing analysis of my content, just wanted to double check that none of it was blocked in the robots.txt. You don't need to have that. That was just something I had in this analysis. If you want to check that each of these URLs have been indexed in Google, then like what I mentioned earlier, it's recommended you use proxies to do this. So I'm just going to press no quickly here. Then you just tick that, and you can check if each URL has been indexed. You can gather Google Analytics data. If you've set up Analytics, which I have done, you'll bring up this box here. And I've already set up all of the information, but it's exactly the same, and all the documentation shows you how to set it up. Simply press connect, and then I can go through I can gather all the different information on Find My Blogway from specific dates for each of these URLs. So I can get like information on the bounce rate. I can get information on the total time on the page, any conversion metrics, all kinds of things. And that's when you can start doing cross comparisons with social shares, content length, headline length, and all kinds of different things that you can compare against these base metrics. So it's up to you if you want to have that information in. Obviously, you can only use that if you own the domain, so it's only going to be relevant at one point or another. HTTP status, if you want to check to make sure none of these are going to a 404 or a server 500 error. If you're doing your own domain, I would imagine you might want to check that out. Page speed, another great bit of insight that you can get into each of your pages, so you can do some correlation between things like social shares versus page load time to see if more bloated pages are actually costing you on social shares, and run some kind of multivariate testing against that. Likewise, you can bring in PageRank data. For me, I don't really see a huge amount of value in doing that, but depends on the analysis you're doing. And a particularly good feature here is email addresses. If you've got a big prospect list there, what URL profiler will do is if you use things like BuzzStream, where they'll harvest email addresses, or Matthew Woodward's ranking tool. So his tool will actually go in, Rank Cracker it's called, that's what it is, and it will actually find any email addresses that are within the domains that you're trying to find. So you can use it as not just a content analysis tool, but also as a full-on prospecting tool. And then when you go down to the content analysis, you can have like readability scores, so flesh readability, and I can't remember the names of the other ones, but I'll show you those shortly. And probably my favorite setting here that I haven't seen anywhere else is the content CSS selector. Now, what you can do is, if you're doing readability, you might be thinking, well, how is it going to know which area is actually the bit of content that I'm trying to focus on? So, for example, if we load up one of the URLs here, if we're looking at doing some content analysis, if I'm just loading in the URL, it's going to be looking at all of the HTML. So it will take in things like all this header area, it will take in the sidebar, it will take in the comments, and all the extra information that actually isn't a valid representation of the actual content of the page. So what you can do is you can go in and just open up the developer tools and find which div is actually the main content area. So you can see here the .entry-content area, class equals entry-content. That is the bit of CSS that's wrapped around the main content of my URL. So what I can go and do is go and open up URL profile again, put in class .entry-content, and for the content analysis it will only look in that bit of CSS, making it as accurate as possible, which is great. And finally, this is the backlink checker. So if I wanted to put in here findmyblogway.com, what I can do is do a full kind of link analysis of the site, so I can find out a breakdown of the different anchor text that's used for being linked to the domain. And what I can also do here is type in some anchor text variations. So if you've ever used the link detox tool, which allows you to classify loads of your backlink data so that you can find out kind of what spammy links are pointing to, or toxic links or suspicious links. I could type in here find my blogway, Matthew Barby, find my blogway, and it will classify all of these anchors as being branded. If I then looked at commercial, it could be digital marketing, blogging tips, things like that. And then you could type in some variations for generic anchor text. You then press apply. I'm not going to do it at this moment in time. If I've got a disavow list, I can then paste in all of the disavow domains so that they're being taken into consideration for within the backlink analysis. On top of that, you can also create a whitelist of domains that you know are good and safe. So if they come up, they're flagged up, they're instantly marked as OK. And on the other side of things, there's a blacklist. So you may want to go and you can actually grab, I think actually the link detox tool, the guys over there, they actually put together a domain blacklist. And I think also the guys at Verante that do remove them, they've actually made a big blacklist that you could easily paste into here that will flag up any potential dodgy domains. So then all that's left to do is for you to press Run Profiler. What the tool will start to do is it will start to gather some information all around. So what I'll do here is not worry about this. All I have to do is save this into a specific area. So I'm just going to go onto the desktop now. Test, run, save. And what it will start to do is it will start to do its thing. It will start to import all the URLs, check all of the domain, go through and gather different information, and you'll see it's really speeding through all these URLs, runs really quickly. I'm just going to cancel this for now. You'll see it already running onto the URL social metrics, and it'll go through step by step, going through each of these. I'll cancel that for now before my laptop has a heart attack. And what I'll show you is an output that I did around a few weeks ago now. You've probably seen the blog post that I did that was everything that's terrible about my content, that kind of pulled in some findings from this information. But just from this is just the information that I've got without expanding on it at all. So we've got things like a breakdown of the URLs, we've got HTTP status, and bear in mind I've disabled loads of the settings here. We've got the page title, the title length, the descriptions, top words used, sentiment, we've got the different readability scores. Alongside this, we've got the word count, sentences, number of headers, paragraphs. It automatically pulls in authors on the blog and their author URL. We've got all of the different statistics around from Google Analytics for like the past week, which is great. I've then got this is all the extensive Majestic and Moscape links. So just to show you, this is like URL citation flow, trust metric, external backlinks, referring domains, AC rank, indexed URLs, tons and tons of information. Moving then on to Moscape, domain authority, page authority, equity links, subdomain external links, and it really goes on. And we're only halfway through this data sheet now. Then go into PageSpeed score, which you can go down and see for each of these different URLs and the total requests in bytes, the HTML response, again, loads and loads of statistics, all the different social stats for each of these URLs across a whole host of different social networks, the canonical headers, if it's robots files allowed or not allowed, and then total social stats. So you can start to see the kind of value that you can get from just doing a small bit of analysis on your own content, but then taking this a step further, you can go in and actually use the tool for prospect lists. You can do it for detoxing, so doing some kind of domain link analysis to check and update your disavow file, or just kind of do some contingency planning, work on some specific Google penalty accounts. You can have a look at content readability, look at just linking metrics, and you could do that directly for harvesting email addresses, whois data, Wayback Machine information. The list really goes on, and from what I've found with the tool so far, there's constantly new features being added. So make sure you check out URL Profiler. I know that they offer a free 30-day trial, and then there's a full paid account that you can use for £99 at the moment. I think some of the pricing may be changing over the coming few months, but yeah, make sure you give that a try. Take a look also at my case study that's focused around the content analysis I did on Find My Blogway, and let me know if you have any issues or you find anything new that you can do on the tool, because I'm always interested to find out new ways to use it.